learn.
Don't kind of think that just because it's free that means what I'm going to go for, because you're going to have a WordPress site, very simple, it looks like everybody else's, and is that really what you want to represent your business?
Why would it look like everybody else's?
Well, because if you're only using the free templates...
yeah. But even free templates in WordPress, there are, I haven't checked for a while, I think it's over 4,000 free templates. So even to find, if you pick one of those and you try and find someone else using it, you're going to struggle to find someone else using the same one as you.
But I think
and the moment you start paying, you reduce that even more.
Paying you £500 for a site that isn't going to look slightly like everybody else's, look a bit bespoke, match your corporate image, it's well worth it. Surely you would do that.
I think it's to do with who you're trying to influence by the website. If you're trying to influence people who are similar size to you, one-man bands or something like that, then it has less of a problem putting together I think a WordPress site, for example. But if you're trying to encourage a corporate to buy from you, you have to appear to be the kind of person that a corporate would want to buy from. And in that case, I think it's very important to get the design right, get the functionality right. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but it's more about making sure that, you know, I'm in a suit tonight because when I go and talk to somebody today, I felt that the suit was the appropriate thing to wear. If I went in jeans...
You're trying to say something?
No, I'm saying that horses for courses, right?
This microphone away.
Very nice jeans. When you're going to talk to somebody, you go and try and match them, I think, in lots of ways, and that's what I'm trying to say about the site. So if your site was selling, for example, equipment for boots, and then the site would have to be a professional, corporate-looking site because that's what they'd expect. If it was a WordPress site, I guess they might look at it, depending on the design, and might say, these are just a one-man band. What you're trying to do is fight above your weight, I suppose. That's what I'm trying to say. So sometimes that investment is worth it.
When you look at something like Comment or Argus, they have a similar site, and it allows the user to actually be familiar where to look, how to use the site. And I think there's some advantage to that as well.
What do you mean, the actual layout of any e-commerce site?
Very annoying when you go onto a building society. I don't know where to log in.
No, exactly.
It's all over the place.
A lot of the time people say, what's the design like for an e-commerce site? And we would normally say, well, you can do what you like, but we'd recommend that your navigation is down the left-hand side and probably your logo's at the top, because that's what people's expectations are, particularly on business-to-business sites. Business-to-consumer is slightly different, I think, but business-to-business sites, people don't have the time they don't have the pleasure of being able to spend a long time wondering how to navigate through the system. They'll just go somewhere else. If they want to buy a dustbin, they'll go to a site that looks like it sells dustbins, press the button and buy it. They're not really looking for a few pence here or there, I suggest. And so, yeah, I agree with you.
And I think the thing with design as well, whatever approach that we've talked about so far, you can make it look the same. What the main difference is in the back end, what you're administrating. If you're really particular and specific about what you want, you need to go this route. But if you're a little bit more flexible and and you're willing to put the effort in yourself a little bit more, then maybe open source.
Well, I'm a bit confused with the fact that to pay somebody to set up an open source site. Is that what you're saying? That I would have to pay somebody to set up an open source site?
Well, again,
you do it yourself.
Yeah, you can do it yourself. So what I was saying at the beginning, it depends whether you've got the time and a little time to learn as well. And a little bit of confidence, really, just to kind of get your.
But when you say, the cost of it, the cost is your time.
Yeah. So I mean, if you say on a small entry-level site, you went to Dave and you said, I want you to give me one of your £400 or £500 sites, whatever it is, make it look good, make it look great. You're investing. What you're doing, you're paying for his expertise, because he's been at this day in, day out for years. I know he doesn't look old enough, but he's just one of these people who can just learn and remember, like me. I learn and forget. So you're paying for his expertise, basically. That's what you're doing.
The most technical people in a company do the open source route, and it's taken them 2 years to get their site done. That cost far outplays any bespoke system.
Yeah.
In their time, 4 or 5, technicians working on the open source site in their time, when they could have had one done in a couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paying half that cost.
Yeah, and it might be that you want to, sorry, just really quickly, it might be that you want to work with maybe a developer or something and just learn from them as they put the site together and say, look, show me the kind of basics of what I need to do, teach me even as you're building it, whatever you want to do. So there's lots of
I think the biggest mistake is doing something like that, because the marketing department says, we better have a website. You guys are techies, so you go and sort it out. You should get somebody in like these guys who've got the experience of that system. I think doing it yourself.
Yeah, but these are technical people, is what I'm saying.
No, but they might not have any web design.
No, they do. That's what I'm saying. They were
Oh,
web
they have.
design
Oh,
technical
okay.
people.
I just think
Still
maybe
took
somebody
2 years.
needs to be fired.
You're 7 minutes.
Yeah, I can't really say why it took 5 people 2 years to produce a certain piece of open source software.
You didn't have the internet.
Like,
No computers.
That's just an example.
yeah.
How you eat into business hours.
The same as we heard earlier. I could produce one in a few hours, and yeah, it obviously it varies depending on how much you produce. And that actually, at this point, actually is getting past whether it's open source or bespoke, because both of them could probably be produced in a few hours with the right expertise, but could also take months.
Sounds like a bad project managed either, doesn't it, somehow?
With the open source, can you easily control who has access to modifying parts of the site?
Yes. So certainly the 3 systems that we did, they all have user, I can't remember what they call them now actually, anyway, but they have systems to allow you to create users with different access levels. Some can just submit content, some can edit, etc.
Can they just edit certain parts of the site, or do they have all site access, one like Google Sites, where you could only do 3 different levels?
By default, I think WordPress and Joomla, it's fairly site general. Drupal is more specific, but also WordPress and Joomla, you can create them in such a way that you can say you can only edit that page.
I don't think for somebody's giving me a mic. How exciting! Is that a bit dangerous as well? Hello. Are we on?
It's not working.
I've got the broken one. I don't think for a minute we're seriously advocating that people go out and get big open source pieces of software and then flounder around for 2 or 3 years on their own. I think if we're advocating an open source route, be it Joomla, Drupal, Magento, that kind of thing, we're advocating you find people like these guys who have already been on that journey and can massively cut down the speed to go to market. Absolutely crucial, yeah. I think that I'm the sort of warm-up monkey, but also the attempt to kind of summarising it really. We've got Paul, if I make the analogy, imagine me wearing these sort of shorts or whatever. We've got Paul at the sort of corporate, bespoke end of the market, and not that you don't do corporate jobs, but perhaps in the middle we've got something which is open source, quick to market, providing you use the right kind of people. Can be low cost, but it depends. And if I'm the kind of cheap and cheerful in my short, imagine me in my feet shorts or whatever, Daughter's point about investment I think is massively valid. Because a lot of things are sort of look free online, we assume that web technology comes free and everything's going to be extremely cheap to operate in. You kind of get what you pay for, so there are a lot of systems at the bottom end. You could WordPress, we've got Phil Allen uses Perch.
Yeah,
Surreal. You've got a great one that sounds like Swizzle or something. Swizz. It sounds like children's sweets from the 70s or something.
Squiz, that's it.
Squiz, yeah. So you've got kind of freemium, premium, $20 a month type stuff down that bottom end, right down to free. You've got open source, you've got bespoke. It entirely depends on where you're pitching as a business, where you are in the evolution of the business. You know, for people perhaps more in the kind of startup phase, if we would say to you 10,000 quid investment, we might as well say $1 million at this point. But if WordPress starts you on that journey that then leads to open source or bespoke systems, then it's sort of horses for courses or whatever. So in terms of the kind of making the analogy of the three systems, free, cheap and cheerful is kind of WordPress, Swizzle and Surreal. I've managed to remember it, fantastic. That's that kind of bottom end of the market, and then up the sort of the cost side of it, assuming that you're not going to play around with open source on your own, you're going to get someone to do it for you. The software's free, the people cost. That's kind of how it works really. You've got Joomla, Drupal, and then you've got the entire bespoke group, which tends to be PHP, MySQL, all these sort of proper background kind of technologies.
This is an eChampions production on behalf of Access Centre.